Welcome to Module 1 of the Amateur Radio Foundation license. In this module, we cover Ofcom and the RSGB. The three license classes. Callsign structure and regional prefixes. What the license allows and prohibits. Supervision, identification, and logbooks. Spectrum status and EMF. Let's get started. Picture this. You have just passed your foundation exam, your license arrives, and you sit down at the radio for the very first time. You key up, announce your call sign, and make contact with someone 300 miles away using 25 watts and a wire in the garden. That moment is absolutely real, and it happens every day in the UK. But before you get there, you need to understand the framework that makes it legal. The foundation exam draws more questions from this licensing section than from any other part of the syllabus. That makes this module the highest return on your revision time. By the end you will know exactly who issues your license and why, how a UK call sign is built, what your license lets you do and what it does not, and the specific rules about identification and record keeping. Let us get into it. Here is the single most commonly confused fact in the foundation exam. Students mix up two organizations all the time, and it costs them marks. Let us fix that now. Ofcom is the Office of Communications. It is a statutory regulator created by Parliament. Ofcom owns the radio spectrum on behalf of the public and is the body that issues your amateur radio license. When you apply for your foundation license, you apply to Ofcom. The license that comes back has Ofcom's name on it. And if you ever breach your license conditions, it is Ofcom that knocks on the door, not anyone else. Ofcom can inspect your equipment, require you to make changes, and revoke your license entirely. Now, the RSGB. The Radio Society of Great Britain is a membership organisation, not a regulator. It is the National Amateur Radio Society for the UK. The RSGB writes the exam syllabus, produces study materials, trains exam assessors, and administers the foundation, intermediate and full license assessments. When you pass your exam, the RSGB informs Ofcom, and Ofcom issues the license. The exam question will be something like, which organisation issues the amateur radio license in the UK? The answer is Ofcom, not the RSGB. Or, which body runs the foundation license exam? The answer is the RSGB, not Ofcom. One more player to know, the International Telecommunication Union, or ITU, is a United Nations agency. The ITU coordinates spectrum allocation globally, deciding which frequency bands go to which services worldwide. Ofcom then implements those decisions in the UK. Think of amateur radio licensing like a driving license, but with 3 tiers. Each tier earns you more power and more access, and each one requires more knowledge and assessment to obtain. You are here for the foundation license. Foundation allows you to transmit at up to 25 watts. That might not sound like much, but 25 watts into a decent antenna is genuinely capable. Contacts across the country and abroad are possible. You get access to most of the popular amateur bands. The foundation license is a single written exam, there is no separate practical assessment. Step 1 up and you reach intermediate. Intermediate raises your power limit to 100 watts and opens up additional frequency allocations. You must already hold a foundation license to take the intermediate exam. The full license is the top tier. Up to 1000 watts PEP on primary band allocations, and the widest possible range of frequency allocations. Some bands are simply not accessible below full license level. There are 3 numbers the exam will definitely test you on. Write them down right now. 25 watts, foundation. 100 watts, intermediate. 1000 watts, full. They will appear in a question where you need to match the power to the license class, or identify which class a given power limit belongs to. Know those 3 numbers cold. your callsign is your unique identifier on air, and the exam will test whether you can read one. Let us break it down. Every UK callsign has three parts: a prefix, a number, and a suffix. Take the callsign M7ABC as an example. The prefix is M7. The suffix is ABC. That is 2 letters for the prefix, a digit, then the personal suffix. The prefix tells you where the operator is licensed and at what class. New foundation callsigns in England use the M3, M6 or M7 prefix. You can request any of them when applying online through Ofcom. M7 is the most commonly issued today because the M3 and M6 blocks are largely full, but all three remain current foundation allocations. Scotland uses MM. Wales uses MW. Northern Ireland uses MI. These region-specific prefixes tell you at a glance where the operator's license was issued. The exam may show you a callsign and ask what region it indicates. Now, what happens when you go portable or mobile? You add a suffix to your callsign. /P means you are operating portably, away from home, not in a vehicle. /M means mobile, from a vehicle. /A means you are at an alternative address. /MM means maritime mobile, operating from a boat at sea. The exam will ask what each suffix means, so learn all four. The license is not just a permission slip. It is a legal document with specific conditions, and breaching those conditions is not just bad form, it can result in enforcement action from Ofcom. Let us go through the conditions that the exam tests. The license is for non-commercial purposes only. You cannot use amateur radio for business, advertising, or any form of commercial activity. This is not a grey area. It is a hard condition. Amateur radio is a personal, non-profit hobby. The license applies in the United Kingdom, the Channel Islands, the Isle of Man, and UK territorial seas. It also applies on ships and aircraft registered in the UK. So you can transmit from a British flagged vessel. What you cannot do, as a foundation holder, is turn up in France or Germany and start transmitting. 2 CEPT agreements matter here. TR 61-01 covers short-term visitor operation by equivalent class amateurs, but UK Foundation is not recognized under it. TR 61-02 is the long-term HAREC agreement, and it applies only to full license holders. So neither gives a foundation holder anything abroad. If you want to operate in another country, check the local regulator's guest license rules. Encryption is prohibited. You may not deliberately obscure the content of your transmissions. The only exception is telecommand of amateur satellites. Transmit in plain language and clear modes. Your transmissions must be to other amateur stations. You are not permitted to pass messages on behalf of the general public in normal circumstances. One common exam question format presents a scenario and asks whether the described operation is permitted. Run each scenario through 4 checks. Non-commercial? Within the geographic scope? No encryption? Only to other amateurs? If all 4 pass, it is likely permitted. 3 operational requirements come directly from the license, and the exam tests all 3. First, supervision. Your friend wants to try the radio but does not have a license. That is allowed, as long as you are present and in control. But here is the key fact: the unlicensed operator uses your callsign, not their own. They do not get a temporary callsign. They transmit under your identity as supervisor. You must be physically present and able to take over at any moment. Second, identification. You must transmit your callsign at the start and end of every transmission, and at regular intervals during longer contacts. Critically, you must also transmit your callsign every time you change frequency or change mode. That includes digital modes. PSK, RTTY, WSPR, FT8, all of them. The exam may give you a scenario about an operator who changed band without identifying. That is a breach of license conditions. Third, the logbook. A station log is not a license requirement. Ofcom does not require one under the current license terms, but RSGB strongly recommends keeping one, and the exam treats log keeping as good practice. A useful log entry contains the date, time in UTC, the frequency, the mode, and the call sign of the station worked. The exam loves to give you a partially filled log entry and ask which field is missing. UTC is Coordinated Universal Time. Always log in UTC, not local time. A log is especially valuable if you ever receive an interference complaint. It shows exactly when you were transmitting. 2 admin points: notify Ofcom promptly if your name or address changes, and confirm your details with Ofcom every 5 years, or Ofcom may propose to revoke your license. 2 topics finish off the licensing section. Neither is complicated, but both are tested. First, spectrum status. Amateur radio does not have equal rights across all the bands it can use. Some bands are primary allocations, meaning amateur radio is one of the main intended services on that band. Other bands are secondary allocations. On a secondary band, you must not cause interference to any primary user of that band, and you must accept interference from them. Many of the bands accessible at foundation level are secondary. This does not stop you using them, but it does mean you are operating with lower priority if a conflict arises with a primary user. Second, electromagnetic field safety, or EMF. When you transmit, your antenna radiates electromagnetic energy into the space around it. Above certain power levels, Ofcom requires you to assess whether people near your antenna are being exposed to excessive levels of this energy. The purpose is to protect people from non-ionizing radiation. At foundation power levels, the low power limit means formal assessment is usually not required. But the principle is examinable. If your station does exceed the threshold, you must carry out the assessment and keep records of it. The exam will ask what EMF restrictions are designed to protect against. The answer is exposure of people to non-ionizing radiation. Let us lock in the essentials before moving on. Ofcom issues the license and regulates. The RSGB develops the syllabus and runs the exams. The ITU allocates spectrum internationally. 3 organizations, 3 different roles, do not mix them up. Power limits: 25 watts for foundation, 100 watts for intermediate, 1000 watts for full. Learn those 3 numbers. New foundation holders in England get the M7 prefix. Older M3 and M6 call signs remain valid. /P is portable, /M is mobile, /A is alternative address, /MM is maritime mobile. The license is non-commercial only. It covers UK territory and UK registered vessels and aircraft. No encryption except satellite control. Foundation does not carry CEPT entitlement abroad. Callsign identification is required at start and end of each transmission, at regular intervals, and on every change of frequency or mode including digital modes. Logbooks must record date, time in UTC, frequency, mode, and the other station's callsign. Secondary band status means no interference to primary users and accepting interference from them. EMF assessments must be done and recorded above the power threshold. In Module 2, we cover basic electronics. This is where the maths questions come from, and I promise it is not as scary as it sounds. See you there.